Hey guys, it's Mike with another King Arthur Legends Rise video. We have been in the game for 30 days. Let's talk about it. Alright, so I've been having a lot of fun with King Arthur over the last 30 days. It is a great game. I do have some constructive criticisms as well. So we're going to get into it. Brutal honesty today. We're going to talk about what I love about the game, what I think are some opportunities, and maybe some things that are some pitfalls that we really need to start working through. I am not sponsored by Netmarble, so every opinion I've given you in any of these videos is just my opinion. I don't have any influences on this. It's just a matter of a guy in a room playing a game, having fun, and sharing his experience with you. And I appreciate the love and support that I have received from all of you. So thank you so much. So let's start with the aesthetics of the game. I know it's small, but the graphics and just the heroes, the animations, like everything in this game is really cool. Like even like the texture in the fur that he's wearing here, got his shield, his chest plate, like everything about this game seems very thought through, very deliberate. Hand motions, like everything just looks fantastic. So aesthetically, this game does look amazing to me. I really appreciate the detail in the graphics they put forward. I think starting this game out as well, the progression, it's a little clunky, but it moves quickly. So you're going through story mode, there's something to do here. You have adventure mode, also you're getting progress. If you get hung up on any of those, you can jump over into the dungeons, start working through some other power-ups to your characters, get new equipment. So there's always something for you to be working on. You unlock Forbidden Dungeon, get some more resources, or Favor Dungeon, as well as the Sealed Temple, kind of coming a little later, but they're all upgrades that you can do to your character. And over time, you start to see those incremental progresses really add up, and it feels really good as you're moving through. That every day you log in, you're gaining some kind of ability, or you're gaining some kind of strength that you didn't have the previous day. I think a lot of that is based on the amount of upgrades you can do to your character. So you can come into your character, you can power them up, just increasing their level. You can also advance them from 2, 3, 4 stars all the way up to 6. You can awaken them. And all of these things require a kind of its own sort of currency in the game, which I think is necessary, but I don't know. It seems like a lot. You can also upgrade your skills and your chivalry, which is their dupe system, which I think ultimately plays out really well in the game. You also have the ability to upgrade not only the relic they come with, but 2 additional relics and build your character kind of uniquely depending on which relic you want to use. And then you can do all the same things. You can upgrade its level, you can advance its star rating, you can awaken it, and you can level its skill up. So if you're hung up on the hero being maxed out, you can start working on a relic. When you finish that relic, you can move on to another relic. But there's a lot of ways to upgrade your character in this game. As you do move through the story mode and dungeons, I think the drop rates are pretty nice. Like when you complete a battle, you get several items. You're not just getting one item, which I feel like it feels good because it feels like you're making progress in multiple spaces. So you're getting currencies to upgrade not only your champion with the experience bottles, but you also might be getting whatever you need here depending on the dungeon you're in, or the brooches, or whatever you need to upgrade a different aspect of that hero. So that is kind of a fun thing. And you can go in and you can farm these, in story mode. We got hard and hell. You can get these brooches. You go through and just pick a level. I think this entire thing is fantastic, especially because of how complicated all the different currencies are in the game. This comes in really handy trying to find where you can get that exact thing. It'll take you right to that level, and now you know you're farming the thing you're looking for. That being said, when you go over into the item bag, you do have the ability to pull a lot of extra elements. But it is very complicated to know what is doing what. Every single time I come in here, I have to literally click on it, use, and see, oh, okay, this is giving me books, which I don't know why I would know that based on this. This one here, I would click on, oh, okay, this is giving me talismans. Again, don't know why I would know that based on this image. So it would be kind of cool for them to kind of let's point that out in some way where I know that not only is this talismans, but it's also my ability to choose talismans as opposed to just getting random ones, which is a different one altogether. As we jump into the bosses of this game, I really like the variation and differences in mechanics. You've got the shield mechanic here on the board that kind of presents its own challenges. You've got the dot challenge going on with Gorgos there as far as bringing damage over time and building a completely different team. Ideally, you could try to overlap like your healers and some characters, because when you're starting out, you don't want to spread too thin. But each of these bosses really have their own mechanic here. You got to figure out something for that massive heal, get in that heal reduction or disruption to make sure that the bear doesn't just top off every time. And then over in the Shrine of Storms, you have a lot more damage to deal with, and I think attack speed. He just seems to be a much faster boss. But every one of them does have their own mechanic that makes them unique and different. And that extends over to the other bosses as well. In the Sealed Temple, you've got the Master of Apocalypse, has a very unique mechanic where if you don't have specific champions, he'll take all of your champions except for one. Now you need to do a lot of damage all at once to get your champions back to make that progressible. With the Master of Death, it just has a lot going on there to keep you challenged. I mean, it really does, and trying to get through some of that content. Also in the dragons, each of these dragons has their own mechanic, again presenting its own challenge, which I think is super fun because it keeps you moving forward in a way of trying to build the next team. And there's a lot of champions that have multiple uses, but there's also champions that are very specific. So as you start getting deeper into these dungeons, you start working on those more specific champions. Jumping out over into Lake Avalon, there's a lot of things in here I do like. I like the rate up summons with the separate pity system with the upgraded chance to get specific champions. That way, if you've been playing the game a long time, they're launching new champions, you do have an increased chance of getting that specific champion. I have heard a lot of folks saying the 50% is not working. I actually think it's pretty good, just because if you don't want it to be a guarantee. Like, there's got to be some kind of RNG where you're just excited. I know even when I hit pity, there's a little bit less excitement about pulling that legendary, but there's still the excitement of which one did I get, which is pretty fun. And here, if this was just a guaranteed champion, it'd be kind of frustrating in the sense of, like, you really wouldn't be excited when you pulled your 60th shard. You'd just be like, oh, I'm getting that champion. Maybe if you wanted to do something, maybe you guarantee 100% at 120 instead of 60, and then you're guaranteed a legendary at 60. So that could be a move. The other move you could do is guaranteeing, because they're upgraded, you guarantee a champion at 30, and then you're guaranteed this champion at 60. Something like that I think could be something that would work. But ultimately, new champions coming in the game, it gives new and existing players an avenue to go specifically for that champion. That being said, with the dupe system in the game, pulling duplicate champions is not a problem, because you do need a lot of copies of champions in this game to get them maxed out. So having multiple copies of the same champion over time is probably fairly inevitable, but there's a good system in place to handle that. As far as each of the different summons, at first it's a little overwhelming understanding what each of them do, but after a few days in the game, you kind of get a feel for what everything's doing. I love that they're all on their own pity system, that it all shows right in game, so you know exactly where you're at and where you stand. It would be kind of fun if there was an almost nothing chance of pulling a legendary from these normal summons, just because, like, as you're pulling them, you really don't really care, because it's pretty rare you get anything that you're really excited about. Eventually you're going to get all the rares completely up on their chivalry, so summoning these stones is going to come kind of useless, similar to the mystery shards in Raid, where it's like you just stack up thousands of them because you just stop caring about having them at all. As far as the relic summons, again, you've got your own pity system on each of these relics. The fact they separated them out, I think, helps out the player base with RNG significantly. It's kind of a pain that you've got to pull and get multiple pulls for each of them. But at the end of the day, if you have the ability to focus on a specific one that you're trying to get, it allows you to cut 2/3 of the RNG out of that pool, which I think is ultimately a big win. Another fun aspect of this game is it does offer kind of a city builder aside from the gameplay, which I think is kind of fun in catering to multiple Folks, I'm not entirely sure if it's necessary. It's not exactly my style of game that I enjoy playing, but it hasn't been distractingly bad by any stretch of imagination. Like, it's actually kind of, if anything, enhanced the gameplay for me, just because it's one more thing to work on. And then you think like, oh, if I get my market up, maybe I'm going to get better things in my market, or I'm going to acquire more steel or more wood. I feel like it would be kind of interesting if there was a stat boost or something assigned to leveling your castle, similar to like maybe the Great Hall, where it's like as you get to every time you promote the castle, you get an extra 1% attack, defense, and HP. I know they have that going on in here with your combat power as you level up, where you start getting additional benefits. But it'd be kind of fun to bring that attack speed 10. That's pretty cool. I haven't even looked in there. But it would be kind of fun to be able to do that, and maybe even provide choices as to how you want to upgrade your castle. Whereas if you want to be super tanky, make it defensive, or if you want to put more energy into attacks, whatever the case is, and then over time you max everything out, but you could focus on specific traits initially that you think are going to be more helpful. I think that could add kind of an extra level of dynamic to it. I think that covers a majority of what I love about this game. There's probably going to be some up as we move into some of these constructive criticisms, but let's jump into what I think could definitely improve in the game, and or things that are distractingly bad. Starting, the first thing I would say definitely needs to improve is going to be the champion pool. In the legendary pool, you literally have, what do we got here, 21 champions in the champion pool. This is going to be good for a new player, but after probably day 30 to day 60, this is going to get pretty boring, especially for a spender. Somebody who's spending money at day 30 probably has every character in the game, or close. So this pool needs to grow substantially. Coming back to the rares, again, you've got 20 rares in the game. Uncommons, you've got 24 uncommons, and commons, you have 7. I think they need to definitely flesh this out, where your champion pool is getting thicker across the board. More common champions, more uncommon, more rare and legendary. So in this game, there is no epic that comes between the rare and legendary. It kind of feels like the rares are meant to be in the epic category, but they are utilizing mythic items throughout the game. So mythic orbs to help ascend your star rating. They also have mythic items that help you with forging materials. So I almost feel like they're looking to introduce a mythic category above legendary at some point, or kind of laying the groundwork for that. Whatever it is, I think we definitely need more champions in the game. We definitely need to flesh these champions out and fill out a lot of these categories. One thing in here, we've talked about it before, but the champions kits are a lot. Like when you kind of roll through here and you start looking at what these champions do, I'm trying to think if I can find, like this guy here, it's like there is so much going on here, and they do a good job of letting you know like what the thing does, as you can click on it and it'll tell you, okay, this is what this does. But with the 3 items on every single relic, plus the 3 items on every passive, at least for legendary character, there's just a lot going on here. One of the ways you could flesh this out and start bringing it in would be having rare characters utilize one of those skills, which a lot of times will be done, but I think they could definitely do, like, for example, you've got Jarrett over here who does a very unique mechanic of removing all dots on all allies. He's an uncommon character. If you had a legendary version of that, I think Ain might be the one. On her passive, I think it was one of these. She removes debuffs. It might have been actually her active A2. Yeah, where she can remove 2 dots when she's fully upgraded. But that's kind of a lesser ability than what that uncommon is doing. Now, she obviously brings a lot more to the table, which is what you want from a legendary character. But you can definitely flesh this out by breaking down some of these more complex skills and bringing them in on a lesser level. Lower percentage heals, lower percentage attack gauge reduction, stuff like that. You could also increase the cooldown, whereas like Morgan has attack reduction on her A2, so it only uses 2 vigor. Maybe an uncommon character, that same ability or slightly worse would be an A3, where it requires 3 vigor. So it has, you can find the ability in different classes, but it requires more power to use it. Stuff of that nature, I think, would really help flesh this whole thing out. Jay Giggs does a great job describing like bringing only legendaries into the game is not a winning formula because you get so legendary heavy. Like even in this moment now, we have as many legendaries in the game as we do rare. It seems to me like legendary is the same rarity as rare. So why is it legendary? I mean, obviously they're a little harder to get, but the pool should reflect the difference. Where rare, you should have twice as many rares in the game as legendaries. You should have, twice as many legendaries in the game as mythics if you're going to bring in the mythical champions. You should have twice as many uncommons as rares. That's what makes their rarity rare. So I think they really need to put a lot of energy into here. I think this is going to be the downfall of this game if they don't start adding champions at a much faster rate. Another big opportunity that I think is going to be a problem over time is going to be the gear. When you come in here and you look at the different gear sets, it is almost never the case you're using anything except for Vigor set. The Vigor set is either so overpowered or these are underwhelming. And there's no avenue to farm this short of getting materials and forging it. And I think that this is a pretty big problem in the game because you have all these other options in the game that nobody is using because Vigor set is king. There needs to be ways of bringing this, equalizing this a little bit where maybe it does make more sense to bring in an attack set. For example, like attack set does a lot of damage. Like I'd love to have an attack set on my Cormac. He would be able to do crazy damage. But the problem is when it's his turn, if he's on Vigor level 1 or 2, he's not going to be able to do his big ability. So he can do a lot of damage on his little ability. That's not good. I need him to be able to hit his big ability every time. I do like the variation in the Vigor and the way that works, but this is probably part of a problem that exists because of it. Whereas it's so overpowered to charge your Vigor. You want everybody on your team in a Vigor set. That way they can all use their best abilities all the time. Versus where you had cooldowns in other games where it's like you only get to use this ability every third turn or every second turn. Then you don't have to worry about speeding through your Vigor, so to speak. I do think the Vigor is a unique way of kind of adding RNG to every single battle, but I think this is something that needs to be thought through because I think the Vigor set is just way overpowered and it's taking away from all the other aspects of the game. Maybe you drop Vigor set to a 2-piece set and you can only stack one of them per champion, and that way it opens up the need to start using some of these other sets. But it just kind of, I don't know, it's just everything goes right here. All my resources go right here. I haven't even learned about a majority of these sets because everything needs to go right here, which is kind of like a whole aspect of your game that people aren't really engaging with because the answer's Vigor. That's the answer. So I think that definitely needs to be looked at. Another thing that I think is a huge opportunity, and it's a common thread in a lot of gacha games, is time in game. If you're coming in and doing all of your daily activities, you can spend a lot of time in this game. They have done a great job with some time management things, such as grabbing a team, being able to go to 3 times chances and go through a lot more power or a lot more stamina. I think that is a great win. But I do feel like over time, if there's not something in the game that builds in auto battles, it's going to get stagnant. Like after you get through Burning Land 10, 100, 500, 1,000 times, at a certain point, you're not going to want to battle this. You're not going to take the time regardless of how much time it takes. I ran into the same issue with Raid. I feel like it's one of those things because part of these games is not only getting to Burning Land 10, but also getting your speed team in where it can complete the boss in a certain amount of time. My feeling is like once you set that record at say 2 minutes or 1 minute or whatever it is, it forces you to build a team specific for the boss. It forces you to theory craft and figure out how that's going to work. But once you get to that point, I feel like you should be done. At that point, you should be able to auto battle this and move on. There's just way too many things in this game that even if you're doing a little bit of all of it, it just takes up a lot of time. So when you look at dungeons here, Forbidden Dungeon, I think they have this right. You try to progress in this. It's like a Doom Tower upgrade. Try to go through. I got to level 70. Could not beat it. Tried a lot of different things. I'm unfortunately going to have to watch those go away because I only got 4 hours left and I use them all. But on the levels you have completed, you come in here, auto clear, boom, get all the rewards, you're done. That's how that should work. I think the same thing should be in the favor done. Like that same thing should be everywhere at some point in time. Obviously, I'm 30 days in at this point, so it shouldn't be for me right now. I should be having to grind every one of these dungeons down to a point where I'm a rock star. It shouldn't be like, oh, I barely get through Burning Land 10 and now I can auto it forever. It should be something I have to grind. I have to figure out a good team that can beat that and beat it quickly and efficiently. Maybe I have to win 100 battles straight without never losing one, where I have to build a consistent team. Whatever it is, whatever requirement, but eventually I should be able to wash that off of my list of things to do. Same thing with the equipment dungeons, the favor dungeons, because I mean at a certain point, once you get enough characters and you beat the level 10, there's not going to be any challenge here. You're going to come in and you're going to go through it, but it's not going to be challenging because you have 4 characters that are all 6-star 60 that can just destroy this level. And that's inevitable because these levels have to be fairly easy because you're in a limited champion pool and you're not going to have all of them maxed out. And there's a lot of reasons why this is going to be easy content. You could say the same thing in the Sealed Temple. Obviously, this is in-game content. It should take you a long time. But again, once you get to a point where you're farming the max level at a certain speed, or you've beaten it 1,000 times without losing a single time, whatever it is, that should be something you can go in and you can just auto. And it's just auto clear and done. Same thing here with the Master of Apocalypse. Again, I'm not saying anytime soon, 6 months, a year into the game, that's okay. It gives me something to work at, whereas like over time, my account is going to be easier to play. On top of which, you're going to be introducing new and exciting things into the game over that time frame, and it gives me time to actually go do those things as opposed to the repetitive, monotonous things I've been doing the entire time. The other thing with time in game for me is I do feel like there's an organizational issue where I instantly am going all over the place. Like I'm looking for a thing, I'm like, oh, is it my item box? No, it's not my item box. It's in the rubies. Oh yeah, you know, you come in here and that's where you get your stamina for rubies. Or you're just clicking around aimlessly trying to find some sort of thing that used to be, that you saw. Like this Royal Road, right? I got the red dot, I'm gonna follow it, see what we got. Hey, I reached castle level 12, that's exciting. So we can pick up those things. But I feel like I'm constantly going to places, like even like the forge and the market, right? I have a market that has items in it. I have a forge that has items in it. It seems like a lot. Like, why can't all these items just be in the same space? Like, you know, like, oh, where do I go to get in there? And then as far as the going into Lake Avalon and going down to the shop and going into heroes here, relics here, exchange shards here, relics here. Like there's a lot of different places I need to go and remember how to get there. And half the time I feel like I'm clicking around trying to find the thing that I know is in the game because I've been there before, but I don't know how to get to it. Sometimes the events pop up here and you're like, okay, well, I got to go into the events. This daily, okay, it pulls up your day. I didn't even know what that one did. You know, so I do find this area to be extremely helpful because it kind of pulls up everything, puts your red dots in one place. But I do feel like there's kind of a chaotic element to the main screen here as far as all the things. Even scrolling around the town, I think is kind of a problem. Like I get that it kind of is like, oh, you open the space up and it feels more adventurous. But from this screen right here, I should be able to click everything. And I don't know why I have to do this every time, but I should be able to click everything that I have forged, that I have made. Like here I got +1 behind this castle. I gotta scroll over here and find this 600 and this 600. Like that's necessary movement and time just to go through and do a thing. Another thing I think would be helpful is if we had some sort of priority where we can put a champion that we're building. For example, I recently pulled Ain. Well, for me to find Ain, I gotta scroll way back over here and I'm saying, okay, I wanna build her up. Well, she should be my focus champion right now. As I get more and more 6-star 60s, she's gonna be further and further down this row. So if I was able to like say, hey, priority, click, and now all of a sudden she's in a new list in front of all my other champions where she's a priority that I can click on right away. Also, it'd be really helpful with all the different ways to upgrade your champion. If I could click priority where I don't like, I might use these by accident somewhere else. I might be like, oh, you know, I want to get, let's say I have Arduin for whatever reason. I'm building her in some sort of free-to-play aspect for a dungeon, or you know, and I accidentally use these talisman or these brooches when really I'm trying to collect these specifically for this champion, but I don't realize that they're using the same brooch. Like obviously the talismans are legendary instead of rare, but the brooch is the same. So what if I accidentally use those 5 on a character that I don't care about as much? Whereas like, or if I try to level this up and say, hey, you know, just to let you know, like some sort of warning box that says, you have a priority character that needs this resource. Do you want to use it? Yes or no? And you're like, oh, who is it? Who am I trying to prioritize? Because right now it's like I'm trying to put a lot of things into Morgan, and I ended up using a bunch of brooches somewhere else that I didn't really care about. That wasn't really what I wanted. Then I had to go farm more brooches. So I think being able to do some sort of priority element, chivalry obviously is kind of self-explanatory. I guess with these guys though, you could use this resource on any champion. So again, being able to prioritize a specific champion would be good. I do also find it clunky when you're in this menu upgrading your hero. You have to come back out to find the equipment, and then you have to come back. See, I'm already clunking all over the place. And then it does add to the confusion with the relic. I get there's a lot to upgrade, so it'd be hard to put this all on one screen. But when I'm upgrading my relics here, like in the info, I don't know which relics I have. I mean, there's this icon down here that shows you the like here I have the Storm and the Frost relic, but I don't have the Flame. Here it shows you what I have equipped with the Flame relic right here, but it doesn't show you the other relics I have. I have to go into relics to find that. You have your active skills here and there, and then you can go up here and find which other relics you have. You also have your passive skills here, which I think is, it's an interesting element to the game. I do like it, but it like adds to the complication of the kits quite a bit. And trying to understand, like I'm 30 days into the game, and they're still like, oh, like Merlin has a revive. I think he's the only reviver in the game actually. But I had to go in here and be like, who's reviving my people and how are they doing it? And I had to go find that on Merlin because it's not an active skill on any of his relics. And this kind of comes back to the thing we were talking about, the currencies in the game. When you're sitting here inside here and you have a specific currency to advance your character, well, let's grab a character that's not fully advanced. That way we can really talk about it. So if we grab somebody like Lot here, I can power Lot up with experience. That makes sense. I can advance him with these resources. I can awaken him with these resources. I can level his skill up with these, and then his chivalry there. That's not it. I can also go back into his equipment. I can level all of that up. I can go into his relics. I can strengthen his relics with these potions. I can advance his relics with these seeds. I can awaken him with his crystals, and I can skill up with books and stones. So there's like a lot of things going on in here that it becomes overwhelming as an early player, like where you get all of these materials. Now they do a great job where I can click on this and say, okay, I can go in here and event owned. I have these, so I can actually forge 4 of them and do that thing. But it's just a lot. It's a lot to deal with. And ultimately, I end up like analysis to paralysis, where it's like if I have stamina, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I even working on right now? There's so much going on. Now, as a new player, that's to be expected. I don't have any players maxed out. I don't have any relics maxed out. I need everything. So for me, it's a matter of prioritizing which player I want to push forward the hardest and get them maxed out completely. But over time, I will get some champions that are maxed out, where it's like I have them fully awakened, I have them fully leveled up, their relic that I want on them equipped, fully awakened, fully leveled up, all the skills fully upgraded, and then on those champions I can start moving into other priorities. So I think over time this will clean up, but it just feels a little clunky, especially as a new player. I'm going to bring up clan. In the clan, I've been stuck in a clan where we have 16 members that log in daily. Unfortunately, when we go through, where is it at? Info, clan shop, clan raid, daily attend. There we go. So we've never received this one right here. So I've been stuck in this clan for a long time. You can see yesterday we barely made this one. We got 16 on the dot. So it would be fun to be able to leave the clan and go somewhere. But unfortunately, we're in the middle of this clan war. So I go down to myself. I want to leave the clan. I cannot because I'm in a clan war. It's kind of frustrating that I'm stuck in this clan for I don't even know how long. It's been at least 2 or 3 weeks. I've been trying to leave the clan, and I can't. So I would prefer, like, if you could leave the clan at any point in time, and then maybe it makes you ineligible for the current clan war going on, because you don't want people jumping around clans and then getting a bunch of rewards. So you got to make it make sense. But at the same point in time, being locked into a clan for 30 days seems a little obnoxious. And last but certainly not least, I want to talk about the Coliseum or the arena. All in all, I think there's aspects of the arena that I do appreciate and I do like, but there's problems that are glaring as well. Starting off, my team power is at 31,000. Now, I actually built a team that can beat a lot of teams 3,000 to 5,000 points higher than me. Because I got a speed lead, I'm running pretty fast. I've got Morgan who's bringing attacks gauge down, and I've got Merlin causing some freezes there to really do some crowd control for me. I'd like to actually replace Nico with a really good AoE damage dealer and just get rid of healing altogether, but she does do an AoE ability and heals my team, and she has saved my butt a couple times, so appreciate you, Nika. And then I have my nuker in that lead spot with Cormac. But the problem I'm facing right now is that all of these teams are so far beyond me that I'm not going to be able to beat them. You see Sergius and Morgan here. He's got his Flame Relic. I probably wouldn't even get a turn against this team because of all of the attack gauge adjustments they're working on. And that's obviously not fun for me to try to fight that team. Looking at this as full legendaries, I'm not too familiar with her kit, but it's just this team is probably going to be way more advanced than I am, as well as here, look, you got 43,000 power and they're only using 3 champions. Like that team's going to destroy me. Now, that's fine. I don't mind going in here and losing. That's, you know, it's fine. The problem comes in is when I'm trying to make my rankings go up. So every time I lose, I can lose between 3 and 12 of these tokens here. And by losing these tokens, my rank goes down. So I'm punished for playing. Right now, if I were to play any of these, I'm going to move down in ranking and I'm going to fall below 20. And then my rewards are going to be reflected of that. Now, I do have the ability. Let's go ahead and just try this. We're going to say I don't get a single turn fighting this team. But if I go in here and I try to fight this team and I do happen to win, I will get some tokens and move up. But chances are I'm going to actually move down. And that's going to put me in a weird position where I'm trying to move up my ranking so I can get better rewards. And I'm unable to do so because all of my matchups are pretty brutal. So I don't know exactly how to fix this. Because the problem is, you can see, I don't think I've gotten a single turn. And yeah, this is the easiest team that was listed there for me. That was the easiest team. Great achievement reward. So I got -2 on that. Did I actually get this? That's pretty fun. I don't know how that happened. I lost and I moved up somehow. So I think I won some battles on defense because that was like 25.96 or something like that. So I must have gotten pushed over that threshold for the 300 rubies into gold 1 when I wasn't playing. So here you go. I've got a team that I probably can beat here at 32,000. So now I can keep moving forward. And trying to get better matchups to start to win some of those tokens I just lost. But the struggle is you want to do this every single day because every day you get those ranked rewards. And if you're trying to accumulate the tokens, getting those ranked rewards is going to be necessary to getting your Sergius, to getting Florentine or the other guy that's in there, getting the chivalry on your Sergius. Like all those things are good rewards that you want to partake in. But the reality is I have played Arena literally for an hour straight and had less Coliseum tokens than I did when I started. And that is broken to me. I probably won at least as many battles as I lost in that hour. So I feel like they need to lessen the tokens you lose when you lose, enhance the tokens you win when you win, something in order to make this actually worth your while. I know they got to be careful on making sure that people that can just put in hours into Arena every single day, aren't completely... See, we got that revive from Merlin there. I think I'm probably going to lose, actually, though. Because who is he's got a massive shield on his Cormac, which is just crazy. I think that's coming from Lancelot. Who's in that team? Who's in that team? They got me. I should have won that. I feel like I should have won that. Oh, you don't even get to see who was in that team. I'll definitely be able to beat this one, though. So you see I lost 6 of those on my ranking there for fighting teams that were all overpowered. Like I tried something, it didn't work out. But as I'm trying to move up these rankings, now I'm in 22nd spot. I just kicked myself out of this reward group into this reward group. And the longer I play, the more I'm going to move down, which is unfortunate. I think as we look at these rewards, like it's not completely overpowered for me to end up in the top 3 getting 500 versus 400. Like it's just an added perk. So I think by allowing me to get into rank 1 through 3, if I have 2, 3, 4 hours to put into arena, I don't see that being a problem. I don't think that the people that are playing the game significantly are going to completely destroy arena. They're going to get bored of it anyway, especially as they get all the rewards they want out of there. But for the folks that want to put the time in, you should be able to move up these ranks the more you play, regardless of how much you win and lose. And I think if you lose half as many points as when you win twice as many, you're going to move up in these ranks. From there, you make this scale appropriately where maybe I don't belong in gold 1 and all these people are way more powerful than me, so maybe you do the gold ranking based on team power. I don't know how to fix it, but there's ways that this could be significantly more engaging content that unfortunately right now is just kind of lackluster. So I defeated that easy boss there. I ended up getting 4 tokens. So I was at 2610 after losing a battle, so I don't know where I actually started. I wasn't paying attention. So then I lost a battle and won a battle, and I'm 2 points lower than I was. Going back to my rewards again, or not the rewards, the ranking, I'm in 21st now. I'd lost those points. So now for me to get back up into the top 20, I'm going to have to win a battle. And I'm looking at these going, maybe I might be able to beat this battle, or I can spend 10 rubies, or I can just let it go. And it's kind of frustrating to be at a place in the game where it's like, well, it's content that I kind of would like to get better rewards, but I'm probably better off not doing anything. All right, we're going to get out of arena because I could go on forever. But all in all, I have really enjoyed this game so far. I'm looking forward to all the progress I make every single day. It's an absolute delight to log into my account. There's been just a lot of things about the game that I have really enjoyed. And this is just kind of my thoughts after 30 days. We'll see after 60 days if I feel the same way, but I don't see myself stopping playing Arthur anytime soon. I think it's a fantastic game. I think with some minor adjustments here and there, it will get better over time. And that's another thing to consider is it's a new game. It has only been out for, I think, around 6 months or something like that. So it has a lot of growing and time to kind of flesh out and figure itself out. And I think Netmarble so far is doing a fantastic job with the game. So I appreciate you sticking with me all the way to the end. If you have frustrations, list them in the comments below. I'd be curious to know what you love about the game, what you're kind of frustrated with, what you'd like to see changed. And one thing I've always tried to do is if there's a part of the game that I'm like, oh, you know, this is really broken, try to figure out what would work for you. What would make it better where you would say, you know what, that's how you fix this problem. Because it's one thing to stand here and say, oh, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. It's another thing to try to figure out how it would work. And trying to be more constructive with the feedback. And there's times you run into situations where you're like, I don't know the coding, I don't know what the options really are here. But even still giving some sort of critique where it's like, if we can move in this direction, I feel like it'd be helpful, I think is definitely a benefit. But that being said, again, thanks for sticking with me to the end. If you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, please do so. It means the world to me, and I look forward to seeing you next time.